Hello and welcome to News Central Television. My name is Mazino Appeal. And the top stories this hour. Federal government declares Tuesday public holiday to mourn a late former President Muhammadu Buhari. And 3 reported dead, 7 injured, several others trapped after a 3-story building collapsed in Sabongeri area of Kano State. Also coming up, 92-year-old Cameroon's President Paul Biya announces candidacy for 8th term in upcoming presidential election. Details coming up shortly on the news now. The federal government has declared Tuesday, 15th July 2025 as a public holiday in honor of the late former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, who died on Sunday at 82. Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo made the declaration on behalf of the federal government following the approval of President Bola Tinubu. He noted that public holiday is in furtherance of the 7 days of national mourning declared by President Tinubu. A statement by the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Magdalene Ajani, said. The minister stated that the holiday is a mark of respect for the late president's service to the nation, his contributions to Nigeria's democratic journey, and his enduring legacy in governance and national development. In the meantime, the Vice President of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, has met with the family of the late President Muhammadu Buhari. The Vice President, who had paid a condolence visit to the family in London, was accompanied by Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Zulum, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, and the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Hadijia. He also visited the late President's nephew, Mama Ndaura, who is also recuperating in a London hospital. Meanwhile, Governor Diko Rada of Katsina State has announced that the late ex-president Muhammadu Buhari will be buried at his hometown in Daura on Tuesday. The governor stated this while briefing newsmen on Monday at the Government House, Katsina. The governor said the decision followed consultations with the family and people around in London, noting that the former president's corpse will arrive in the state 12 p.m. on Tuesday, with the burial following at 2 p.m. in Daura. Governor Rada condoled with the family of the late president and people of Katsina State and Nigeria. He has since arrived in Daura, leading a delegation of top state government officials on a condolence visit. So far, former Ogun State Governor Ibikunle Amosun and former Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State have joined other mourners at the late president's house in Daura. Now let's also tell you that former governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, has joined millions of Nigerians in mourning the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari, and describing him as a statesman whose leadership embodied integrity, patriotism, and an unwavering commitment to the ideals of national unity and progress. In a solemn tribute, Ambode recounted the personal and institutional support Buhari extended to Lagos State during his administration, emphasizing that the former president's actions reflected his deep appreciation for the state's strategic importance. He noted that Buhari's decisions were not merely political gestures, but signs of visionary leadership, anchored in fairness, equity, and a desire to see every part of Nigeria thrive. Still on the death of the former president, the passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari has triggered a wave of reactions. News Central's Suesi Anyo captured reactions from some Nigerians on the streets of Lagos.
As has already been announced,
from soldier to statesman, Muhammadu Buhari's influence on Nigeria spanned decades. His death at 82 in London after a prolonged illness has stirred mixed emotions nationwide.
Personally, I'm indifferent because although a lot of people, when he was president, several things were messed up under him, but there's a normal saying that you don't wish bad against the dead. So I think I wished him well because in other areas, he actually tried in other areas, even though economy, security, and others were messed up under his regime.
He's a human being, and when he was in power, he had so many advisors and he had so many things on his table. Well, he did his best and he survived the 8 years. I would say that, well, everybody has to die. Even if he did well, they'll still blame him. But whatever it is, he's late now.
President Bola Tinubu praised him as a patriot and a symbol of integrity who championed unity and fought corruption. But for some Nigerians, memories of economic struggles and slow governance under his watch remain fresh.
The man has tried his own best. You understand me now? There's no how you can please the world. But I know the man has laid his own impact on the country.
Honestly, we just have to sympathize because we've actually lost an icon in our nation. Despite the fact that there are some ups and downs, every human being have their own flaws. We're perfect.
Buhari ruled Nigeria first as a military leader from 1983 to 1985 and later as a two-term elected president from 2015 to 2023. He gained respect for battling Boko Haram and pushing anti-corruption reforms, yet drew criticism for sluggish policy action and rising hardship during his tenure.
The time of COVID-19, the man doesn't make us proud and doesn't make us happy. He tried to frustrate us and bring everybody down to this country. So the little word I can say about that man, may he so rest in peace, Sha.
Buhari is a president that everybody was like, oh, we hope him to do well. But he still did, though. He tried. He managed the country during this time. At least there was a low record of insecurity, let's just say, to compare to now.
Look at the power system, the health. Look at the water. What has he done? Really focus on in this country? Nothing. So why are we remembering him for what?
While tributes pour in, reactions remain divided. A reminder of a legacy that is as complex as Nigeria's own journey. In Lagos, for News Central, Sewesi Anyon.
Now joining us for further discussion on the passing of the former president, we have with us Mr. Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst. Mr. Jide Ojo, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Ojo, how would you describe the late Muhammadu Buhari as a president and as a legacy?
Well, as was said in that your box pop, he played his own role and he did very well. For those of us who are born in the 60s and who witnessed his regime between December 31, 1983 and August 27, 1985. You will see that he is the one that introduced war against indiscipline, WAI, war against indiscipline. He fought, of course, he was accused of human rights abuses, the introduction of Decree 4 that was perceived to be anti-journalist and anti-media. But when you fast-track the fact that this is a man that has contributed immensely to public service, from when he was the military administrator in Northeast Nigeria in the 70s to when he became the Minister of Petroleum Resources, to when he became the chairman of Petroleum Trust Fund, to when he fought for the presidency of Nigeria on 4 different occasions, 2003, 2007, 2011, before he now won in 2015. You will see that it's a man that has left his footprint in the sands of time. He was a giant killer. He made record as the first Nigerian to defeat an incumbent president. It is unprecedented. In 2015, he was the only president the only candidate that have defeated an incumbent president. But when you look at even his legacies in terms of infrastructure, he did a lot. The second Niger Bridge, the revival of Nigerian railway system, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the completion of several other projects that were legacy projects from previous administration, like that of Obasanjo to Yar'Adua to Goodluck Jonathan. He didn't just abandon them, he completed it. One of the first things he did when he assumed office in 2015 was to give billions of naira in bailout funds to the state governments to be able to pay school and to be able to pay salaries of their workers. We must remember that it was a good gesture, a kind gesture from the federal government of Nigeria. We remember him for the over 1 trillion he spent on the borrowers program to ensure there is food security. As was said in that background, he fought Boko Haram, even though he didn't win the war against insecurity. He came in. Also, the economy was technically, the economy went into recession under him, but also bounced back. Nigeria was the biggest economy under Buhari. He signed into law some legacy legislations like the National Disability Act for the persons with disability. He signed the Electoral Act 2022. He amended the Constitution on 2 occasions in 2018 and 2023, where we have the not too young to run. We have the devolution of power from the exclusive legislative list to concurrent legislative list. Some of these include the electricity, railway, and prisons, which were moved from the exclusive list to concurrent list. Then in the area of other legislation, he fought corruption with the introduction of whistleblower policy, the introduction of the signing into law of Process of Crime Act, mutual legal assistance for repatriation of stolen wealth, and several other innovations. So the man has made his own input. He has left a legacy that will be difficult to surpass.
A legacy difficult to surpass indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Jide Ojo. But do hang on. I'm being told that I'm being joined by our former Commissioner for Information Plateau State, Yakubu Datti. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Now, Mr. Yakubu, I wanted to know what you think about the fact that the late president had the penchant to always want to fight corruption. His administration championed this during his time as president. Do you think or believe that this translated to real institutional changes, Mr. Datti?
Yes, I believe he laid a lasting foundation, not only in this tenure, even the previous tenure when he came in with General Idiagbon of blessed memory. And he continued that fight to institute the fight against corruption. Remember, he introduced the plea bargain, a system which involves shortening the prosecution process and assisting the government to be able to recoup more funds for governance to go on. I also want to say that one of the things he has brought on board, which is easily forgotten, is the transformation in the electoral system. In the first place, his emergence as the first person to defeat a sitting president in Nigeria also showed that he believed in the electoral system. And to strengthen it against all books, against even what he believed in, we saw that people that were not even proposed to have won even his party's election won because he allowed a free, fair election and allowed people to contest among themselves. And we have contestants that included his friends, the present president, his deputy, his vice president, his ministers, all came out. And he sat there and allowed the democratic process to unveil. And the best emerged at the end of the day. And I think these are silent issues that we should celebrate. This man that has come as a general and has left as a Democrat, who has displayed that if we allowed other structures of government to work, it will work indeed.
Mr. Datti,
I also noticed that during his...
Mr. Datti, sorry, yeah. I didn't mean to cut in there. I thought you were done. But I still want to know from you. Now, how has Buhari's presidency been framed now, especially politically, in political discourse, now that he has passed? Is it any different from what it was from when he was in office or maybe right after office?
Well, Buhari's presidents will be remembered for always caring for the poor. Like you know, he's popularly known as Megaskia. And because of his concern for the poor, he was reluctant in taking some very hard decisions, which we are seeing being taken by this administration. Hard and necessary decisions, I must say. And he was also part of people that ensure that the necessary infrastructure was put in place. Don't forget that before his coming, we didn't have, we had forgotten about railway. Most of the railway workers, if you are railway, we're just talking about pensioners. But with his coming, he was able to breathe some life into the railway system, which has, people have benefited across the country. He has also embarked on several road projects, also agricultural projects across the country. But the success or not of the anti-corruption war remains debatable, because at the end of the day, most of the programs he has put in, and some of the programs, especially in the agricultural sector, if they were to yield result, would have been a different country by now.
Mr. Ojo, let's come back to you. I wanted to know what the immediate political implication of the former president's death for the APC could be, and maybe even the opposition parties as well. Unfortunately, I'm being told that we have lost network with Mr. Jide Ojo. Mr. Yakubu, I'll have to come back to you and ask you that same question regarding the political implications of his death. That's the death of the former President Muhammadu Buhari. What will this be for the APC, and of course also for other opposition parties?
Well, clearly the death is, when we are in a mourning period, we don't look at the benefits or otherwise, because it's a mourning period and the nation as a whole is in a mourning period. But we celebrate him, especially people in the APC, as a man who promoted the doctrine of non-interference. And that is why for most of his ministers, those who may not even have access to see him on every item, eventually got their issues resolved, because he believed that if he gives you a responsibility, he gives you the power and the resources to carry out those responsibilities. And because he was also very close to people he worked with and empowered them, most of the people that worked around him believed that he had endorsed them to be the next president of Nigeria, not knowing that this is Buhari, who is not for anyone, but for everybody. And that in itself showed, gave impetus to the growth of APC and this unity we see in the multi-party democracy that we practice. And it's because it's to his credit that the party has remained united in spite of the pull all over the place, while the other parties are falling apart because the discipline that is needed to run a political party that will allow people to express themselves is absent. But in the party he left behind, he left the party that enthroned democracy, that operated in a system where he allowed everybody to operate his view irrespective of party. And we're seeing that in the way the present government is operating under President Tinubu. And that is why with all the benefits of the removal of subsidy, the increment in money that is coming in, he's distributing it across all the states without discrimination. Because at the end of the day, he believes that Nigeria is paramount. And what affects Nigeria, what affects any part of Nigeria, affects every part of Nigeria. And we're happy that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is continuing with this legacy of transparency, of governance, and ensuring that every part of the country is carried along.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yakubu Datti. Mr. Jide Ojo joins us back again. Mr. Jide, you went off for a minute there, but I do have one last question for you. And while we are seeing people celebrating the life of the late President Muhammadu Buhari, we've also seen pockets of people who actually are celebrating his death. So I was wondering how this narrative, or how this plays into the narrative of his legacy that he leaves behind. Some people obviously still disgruntled, and other people willing to forgive and even praise his efforts as the president. What do you have to say, Mr. Jide Ojo?
Well, that's life. That is life for you. You can't be loved by everybody in this planet Earth. There will be people who will criticize you, who will hate you for even doing the right thing. Is anti-corruption posture really riled so many politicians because they felt if they allowed them to eat? This is a man that is so disciplined. Did you know he has just one wife? He has one wife. He had only been twice married. he divorced his first wife after his detention for some 20 or 40 months, and then he married Aisha, and it's only one wife, 10 children, and modest income. I recall that in 2015, he could not pay easily the 27.5 million APC charge for nomination fee. He had to go and take bank graft to be able to pay. So that's the kind of disciplinarian that he is. Of course, the media circle, the decree 4 that he initiated in his first time as head of state, rankles many media practitioners that his anti-democratic credentials, the fact that repression, human rights repression, was accused of that. Even the handling of Lekki Toll Gate SARS protest was blamed on him, even though he may not have been the one that ordered the shooting of those innocent souls at Lekki Toll Gate during the SARS protest of 2020. But he has his own failings. Don't also forget that by the time he was president, he was already in his 70s, and he has debilitating health challenge that in 2017, he was away for 6 months on health tourism to UK. In fact, that was the only time I recall that he had to allow the Yemi Osinbajo, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, as his acting president, because he was away on medical leave. And people even said he has died, that even now I see all manner of trolling, all manner of videos saying he's Jubil of Sudan, he has died. He himself admitted that he wished he were president in his younger years, when he could have had better eyes for details. But he's a woman, he has his own frailties. Yes, people call him Baba Go Slow. People felt, he didn't solve the security challenge. He didn't solve the economic challenge. I told you earlier on that the economy went into recession under him, but it also rebounded under him. People blame him for all manner of corruption of his aides, but nobody has ever said, I bribed Buhari, that he is living above his image. He returned to his farm in Daura. How many presidents have done that? Okay. Aside from Obasanjo, the other president, Goodluck Jonathan, lives more or less in Abuja. Then. But this is a man that had, a lot of prudence. He's a statesman, from soldier to statesman, a patriot of no immense pleasure. He's a titan, and he's a man that has left his footprint, like I said, in the sands of time. I will definitely miss him as a person, and Nigeria will miss him in future.
Mr. Jide Ojo, thank you very much for your input. Also, Mr. Okpebholo, thank you very much for also joining us, gentlemen. Thank you indeed. Now let's go on our first break. We'll be back. When we do, 3 reported dead, 7 injured after a 3-story building collapsed in Sabongeri area of Kano State. We'll have the details for you shortly. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. Now, the burial rites for the late Awujale of Ijebu Land, Obaseki Adetana, is currently going on at Okpebholo Court, Igbeda, in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. The revered monarch joined his ancestors at the age of 91. A statement by the Secretary of the State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, urged residents of the state to remember the family of the revered monarch in their prayers. Oba Adetana ascended the throne in 1960 and reigned for 65 years, during which he became widely respected for his leadership, foresight, and deep commitment to development. Joining us now is President of the Yoruba Council Worldwide, Oladotun Hassan. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Yes, good evening. It's a pleasure to be on your program.
Grand, you're welcome. Now, I'd like to know, how would you describe the late royal father?
Well, it's on behalf of the good people of Yoruba land and all Nigerians, we commiserate with the family of His Imperial Majesty Obaseki Adetana Ojisi ON. He's a revered royal father, the Awujale of Ijebu land. This is a great loss to the good people of Yoruba land, which coincide with the loss of the former President Muhammadu Buhari, which is a dual loss to the nation. And considering the wealth of their experience, they dated back to the foundation of the country, and we can really realize that both men were good friends. But in talking exclusively on Awujale Yoruba land is a revered father, royal father, not just for the good people of Yoruba land, but for the entire Yoruba land, because his wealth of experience cannot be overemphasized, especially during the military era. The Oba is a king with panache of wisdom, and he has what it takes to lead the good people of Ijebu, and by extension, Yoruba land and Nigeria, because he's a pan-Nigeria king, and he's a king that believes in unity, peace, and progress of the people. You can see his wealth of experience in the development of cultural heritage and values of the Yoruba people, especially when you see his magic wand in the development of Ojude Oba, traditional festival. Then, considering the merit of what he has brought to the royal stool and respect, Obaseki Adetono is a king with the aura of respect and of value. So it's somebody we the good people of Yoruba land love so much, and we commiserate with the family on behalf of the Yoruba Council Worldwide, which is the apex umbrella body of all Yoruba indigenous people worldwide. We believe that his loss will be missed in great way, because he's coming at the heel of when Yoruba Council Worldwide is about to host the second Yoruba Annual Obas Conference, which we are believing that his wealth of experience, although we know he's aged, but his wealth of experience cannot be overemphasized in hosting the second annual Yoruba Obas Summit, which is one way in discussing and galvanizing the unity of Yoruba people and development of Nigeria at large, in considering the issues confronting our democratic life, because we cannot say that all is uhuru, but we believe that with joint effort with the current leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whom he himself hold the Oba in high esteem, because the Oba Ojale is one of the source of wisdom for our president, and I believe the president will be missing him also greatly. So we believe that in looking forward, we want the president, in his right view, to confer some monument centers in maybe universities within Ogun State after Sikiru Adetono,
Mr. Hassan,
in order to immortalize his value.
Mr. Hassan, my apologies for butting in there, but I do have time only just for one more question. And I wanted you to elaborate on the historical significance of the Awujale stool within the Yoruba traditional governance framework, and how this legacy should be preserved posthumously. And if you can be summary in your response.
Yes, the Awujale is one of the supreme kings within the Ogun State Council of Obas and Chiefs. And within the divisions of Ogun State, Ijebu-Ode is one of the most valued region of Ogun State. And the king have been on the throne for many years. Is one of the longest serving Yoruba Obas as far as the Yoruba land is concerned. Not just serving, longest serving, with pride and mark of excellence. And we can not overemphasize the historical view of the Ijebu people. Ijebu is also an arm of the entire Yoruba land. And we cannot cut it off, although there are various historical facts of the Ijebu people coming from Mecca and some other factors. But we cannot say more or less that the entire Yoruba people are from Ile-Ife. And from Ile-Ife, every Yoruba kindred took their root and their value and basis of Omoluabi ethos. And that is one factor that has held the Ijebu ascendancy within the Ogun State as one of the foremost stool, in not just in Ogun State, but in Nigeria. So
for the Oba to be conferred with the title of GCFR by Mr. President, it goes to show that he holds a lot of things in stock, not just for the Ogun State, but for the entire Nigeria. And he's a king that pride welfare of the people. He's a king that pride restructuring. He's a king that prides due diligence, due delivery of dividend of democracy, because he's a Democrat par excellence. He's not a king that sits on, he's not an armchair critic. He's a king that goes to the field, gets results, and bring about welfare.
All right, then, Mr. Hassan.
His immediate community. So
no, Mr. Hassan,
this is just to show that is a testimony.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan. Unfortunately, I've run out of time because we had a specific amount of time allotted for that conversation with you. But thank you very much for the definitions and also your input here on the death of the Awujale of Edo Line. Thank you very much, sir. We now head to Kano State, where 3 people have been confirmed dead and 7 others rescued after a 3-story building collapsed in the Abedi area of Sabongeri, Kano State. The incident occurred late Sunday night. The building, which was under construction, fell and also affected some nearby structures. Officials from the National Emergency Management Agency, the Federal and State Fire Service, the Federal Road Safety Corps, and the police are present at the scene to conduct rescue operations and maintain security. Authorities say several others may still be trapped in the rubble as search and rescue efforts continue. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has urged Governor Okpebholo of Edo State to concentrate on the development of the state rather than dissipating resources to probe his predecessor, Godwin Obaseki. Wike was speaking in Benin, Edo State, on Sunday evening. He said probing the former governor will achieve no meaningful results, adding that it was better for Okpebholo to deploy his time and the state's resources toward achieving his developmental goals. Wike was in Benin to inaugurate the new Edo Line terminal, which is the second phase of the Edo State Benin Central Bus Terminal. The event has now been cancelled following the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Gender inclusion advocates are warning that it will be structurally impossible for Nigeria to progress if urgent issues around inclusion and mainstreaming are not addressed. At a press conference in Abuja, stakeholders lamented that systemic exclusion, underrepresentation, and persistent policy failures are holding the country back from equitable development. They highlighted the need for culturally relevant, data-driven solutions designed and executed with input from affected communities, especially women, persons with disabilities, and other marginalized groups.
This is the time, better than ever, to reflect on how we can still use the limited resources we have at our disposal to build a truly inclusive society. You really will not achieve lasting change if you don't have a platform that drives sustained advocacy into perpetuity, if I could put it like that.
When we discuss Nigeria's transformation and somebody says, how has that to do with gender mainstreaming? Has everything to do. In fact, it is structurally impossible to transform Nigeria without gender mainstreaming. That's what the data says.
The needle is shifting, but it is not as fast as we all hope it will be. If you look at it in the political space, now the campaign that is going on right now is extra seats for women. We are still far from where we want to be.
The framework for gender inclusiveness has to start with the policy framework. So we are looking at developing a national framework for transformative gender policies. We are looking at every aspect of the work of the government and the private sector must have what we call the gender mainstreaming.
Coming up on the news, South African president suspends police minister over corruption allegations and orders probe. We'll bring you the detail if you stay with us when we get back. Mr. Tebengyang? Mr.
Yes.
Tebengyang, can you hear me? Yeah, I can't hear him. Are you unmuted? Please unmute your device. I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. I'm only reading your lips. Are you sure you're not muted? Okay, guys, I can't hear him. What's going on? Help. Okay, now I can hear you. Thank you very much. All right, I hope you'll stay this way when we start the interview. No, don't rest back, please. All right. Could you also help with the name? Can you pronounce it, please? Tebengyang Echu? I'm correct. Thank you very much. All right. We'll be with you. Okay, I think we lost your audio again. Can you... Welcome back. Cameroon's President Paul Biya has announced his candidacy for an 8th term in upcoming presidential election scheduled for October 12, 2025. At 92 years old, Biya has ruled the country for nearly 43 years, making him one of Africa's longest-serving leaders. His bid for re-election comes amid growing concerns about his health and ability to govern. While Biya remains the leader of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, internal divisions have surfaced within the party. In recent months, several longtime allies have distanced themselves, and key defections have raised questions about his continued dominance. Notably, former Employment Minister Issa Shiroma Bakary resigned from the government in June to contest the presidency under his own political party. So, to discuss this, we are joined by policy and political analyst Tebengyang Echu. Mr. Echu, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Mr. Echu, what would you make of a 92-year-old man, after 43 years as president, still seeking re-election to maintain power?
Thank you for having me. And I think you chuckled me a little bit by going directly into his age. I think in Cameroon, age to him, he's still very young, considering that he's surrounded by people of his own generation. So within or among themselves, they do consider themselves as young. But to go to the deeper question about the implication of his candidacy, this was expected. It is already a far-gone conclusion that he is going to win another mandate, not because of his fitness to govern, but because of the system that is in place, that even if you take an opposition leader and put in that position, they are going to win. So it's really not about his age as far as the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement supporters and surrogates are concerned. It's about how are they going to maintain the system of clientelism, the system of patronage that he has put in place. So to sum it all, it's all about belly politics in that country.
Presidential terms in Cameroon, and I'm wondering how the constitution allows that.
I think the problem that the Cameroonian people face is that even some of the front runners today in the political scene, like Maurice Kamto of the Cameroon Renaissance movement, was part of the system that changed the constitution and gave in 2008 and gave the president a 7-year mandate that could be done indefinitely. I think you mentioned Issa Chiruma Bakary, one-time Minister of Employment, who has been there with Biya since 1992. So you have a situation where the citizenry is caught between an octogenarian that is partially incapacitated to rule, and then 10 court politicians who enable the system that has stifled the Cameroonian population for the past 43 years. But at the end of the day, with the system that is in place, the Electoral Commission is appointed by Biya, who is the incumbent. The Constitutional Council, the authorities are all appointed by the incumbent. So it is as you being a player and a referee in the same game, there's no way that the opposing team is going to defeat you in a context like that.
Mr. Echi, I wish I had more time to ask more questions, but unfortunately we have run out of time. But thank you very much for giving us some insight into the situation. Thank you. Now moving on, supporters of the Umkhonto Sisizwe party are taking to the streets of Johannesburg in support of KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Namla Mazwanazi. Now the march marks the first in a week of planned protests. The party has vowed to shut down Wateng in protest against what it describes as rampant criminality within the country's security cluster. News Central's Bongani Sisiba is at the protest, and we cross over to her now for more.
Very good afternoon to you and our viewers at home, coming to you from Johannesburg. As you can see behind me, the Umkhonto Sisizwe political party are protesting at the Gauteng Provincial Police. I can tell you the country is at crossroads following President Cyril Ramaphosa's recent decision to place the Minister of Police, that is Nyesom Wike, on leave instead of outright firing him amid serious allegations linking high-profile politicians and police leadership to crime syndicates. This move has sparked intense debate across the country, raising questions about national security, accountability, and the integrity of the institutions. So South Africans are struggling to come to terms with President Ramaphosa's decisions. Many believe that Minister Mtulu should have been dismissed outright, given the severity of the accusations made by police KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Kwananzi, which implicates prominent politicians and even police minister himself in the criminal activities. And these allegations aren't just mere whispers, they touch on the very fabric of the national security.
Look, the president has disappointed us always, not that we expected better, but he had an opportunity to really take South Africa into its confidence. He has failed, and fortunately we had already planned that we would be marching like we are today, and we are glad that we went ahead with our plans, because South Africa needs a leader. And when Ramaphosa was supposed to have been that leader that could really assure South Africans that our country is not being handed over to criminals, he has failed to do that.
That's all on the news, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Our federal government has declared Tuesday a public holiday to mourn late former President Muhammadu Buhari, and 3 have been reported dead, 7 injured, and several others trapped after a 3-story building collapsed in Sabongeri area of Kano State. We also told you of the 92-year-old Cameroon President Paul Biya as he announced candidacy for 8th term in upcoming presidential election. Now remember, you can send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times 274, Able TV, and of course on YouTube. And now we head over to Ijebu-Ode, where we have our News Central correspondent, Ifirobo Israel, who will be bringing us details of the final burial rites of the Olubadan of Ijebu land. Oba Aditana.
Very much, Femi.